Hello everyone and welcome to our stitch along. So super excited to be back with you in the chat as part of this premiere. So if you are watching this premiere live, then you can join us in the live text chat. And this is part of the Stitch Along 1800s revival, where we are stitching 1800s embroidery designs. So you would have seen, if you'd watched the video where I shared my plans for this piece, and I did the stitching on the Always in Our Heart. I added a second internal row of chain stitches in the Brownie Goldie thread that I used for the names of our beloved pets that have passed. I thought that would look nice as a little inner ring, and yeah, I've finished stitching all the names of our pets. And so in this stitch along, we are going to be stitching the two embroidery designs. So I'll start off with the dog, I think. And again, if you haven't seen these videos and don't know the details of where I am sourcing these designs from, look below the video in the more information section, and there's links to everything that you need to know, including the past videos and yeah, how you can go to the antique pattern library site, which has fabulous resources. So I just don't want to stretch my beautiful vintage linen too much, but I want it to stay reasonably taut. So my plan is to use this Pure Silk Gumnut Yarns Buds thread. I got it secondhand, so I don't know if they still make that one or not. But I just like that it's got a beautiful sort of variegation in the actual thread, or maybe it's more the sort of the twist of the thread. You get multiple, no, there's definitely sort of, yeah, variegation, but also the twist of the silk gives it a lovely look. So I think I'll just start at the top, and I think with this it will be pretty much just a whole lot of little straight stitches to form the pattern. And when I was sketching this or tracing it, I just kind of, yeah, did it broadly with the design, but then I played with some features. I wasn't as happy with the design's legs. They looked a little bit too too chunky. So I just sort of, yeah, redefined them, and I'll redefine them a bit more as I stitch it, I suspect. So I was hoping this wouldn't be too thick, this thread, but I think it'll be fine. When we get to the cat, I'm actually thinking I'll use a thinner thread than what I was originally planning. I was originally thinking this one, but I think I might use this because it seems to have a little bit of variegation in it, or just the twist of it kind of catches the light differently. So like my other stitch along videos, I'll probably do about 40 minutes now, and then we might come back and finish the pieces with a bit of a sort of a break in between where I finish do most of the stitching, but then yeah, come back and finish it off with you. Could have done a longer stitch there, but that's okay. I was too busy talking and not really paying attention. I'll just do another stitch. So it's interesting with this sort of, yeah, stitching. It's almost like, yeah, sketching with thread. Oops. It helps if you don't come back up through the exact hole that you went down. Otherwise, you'll undo your stitch. But yeah, I kind of want to get the scraggliness of the dog. So I don't even know if I need to join all the stitches perfectly sort of together, or have bits where it's kind of just, yeah, sketching it really. I think littler stitches rather than big sort of long stitches when I'm outlining, and even just leaving a little break in them might look good. So as I'm filming this, I've had a lovely message from one of my stitchy buddies seeing if we might be able to catch up for a video call or do some stitching together. So I said I'm just going to get this video at least started, just so that I kind of don't get to the end of the week and I've run out of time to get it loaded and get it up. I prefer to kind of do it earlier in the week. It is Tuesday evening at the moment. And I'll probably tonight or tomorrow night put out the video where I show you, although by the time you're watching it, all of these dates and times will be they will have passed, so it doesn't really matter, does it? But yeah, it will be fun to do a video stitchy call. Don't know if my craft room is quite clean enough to do a full craft room view. I will have to do that at some point for all of you lovely folks too. Because I must admit I love seeing a craft room wander around, so I'm sure others would be the same. So here I am just leaving little gaps. I guess I'll be able to see once it's done whether I want to fill in those gaps or just kind of leave it more sketchy. I think I like it sketchy looking. Sketchy can be an insult, can't it? That person's a bit sketchy. It's actually really fun doing these embroidery designs because you can, even though you might have the same line drawn, the way you approach it, the stitches you use, how you apply those stitches, what thread you use, you're going to get a different impact. So that's fun. We can all work on the same design but end up with something quite different. So with the tail, I also had a fiddle with it. I thought I wanted my tail to be a bit longer. Because in the design, it just looked a little bit too short. As I say, this picture's not depicting a particular dog. It's kind of a hybrid of many dogs. Probably looks a bit like a golden retriever or something in the actual embroidery design, but yeah, this silk thread stitches with beautifully. I was a bit worried whether it would catch all over my fingers, but I did put my hand cream on before I started. I can always, if I do want the outline, I can always whip my stitches, I suppose. But I think I like it the way it is. I left Travis snoozing down on the couch. He loves to crawl up onto the couch and sit across my lap with a blanket straight after dinner. But I said, I've got to get up, get stitching. Otherwise I'll run out of time to catch up with my stitchy friend. But yeah, I'll stitch for about 20 minutes on the dog and then we'll switch over to the cat. Probably can actually do about 25 minutes on each first up, and then a little extra little tail bit here. Maybe I'll keep doing the outline and then we can come in and start to fill some extra stitches into the tail. I actually wonder if I'll keep it a full tail up near the body. Just some things you kind of see and they don't kind of look totally 100% to your eye. I do like those little hair bits up there. I think they look good. And that's the other thing I could do down here. I could come in and put in some little, yeah, sort of pokey uppy hairs if I wanted to as well. Just going to have a quick look at the design just for what it shows. Yeah. So yeah, the tail does look quite short on that dog. But it shows it sort of coming up and around like this. And then here's where I think I'll just start doing some of the stitches coming down. Get a bit of movement in the tail. Could always potentially do little couching stitches here, but I think I'll just do my little tippy tappy ones. I can probably do some slightly longer ones to give the sense of the tail. And I'll sort of stagger them a bit so they kind of overlap at a place where there's a break in them. So yeah, all my pen marks are just done with friction marker that erases with heat, in case you haven't seen other videos where I've been using that. I was worried I might not have enough of the thread, but I think we're going to be right. So I've got, yeah, decent amount left. That's probably enough there, and I'll just come up here. The design does sort of, yeah, bring the stitches down around here. But yeah, I like that it's quite a sketchy. The design itself is sketchy, and then doing this sort of stitching just, yeah, plays up with that. It's actually quite a quick stitch, this one. Probably should have threaded all my needles, and I could have just powered along. These are just some little parallel stitches here. I don't think I drew on as many as were in the design. That's okay, I might do about 5. I prefer to do an uneven number rather than an even number. For some reason it's just a bit more pleasing to the eye. And then I think we'll need to rethread our thread after I've done the final little stitchy stitch. And then so these are going to be stitched onto my family heirloom quilt, so they'll be stitched down, so I'm not too worried about wear and tear on them. Scissors. It's nice when you can use most of your thread. Okay, next piece. I've got some other silk threads that when I put my fingers in the drawer, they seem to kind of grab onto any dry bits of skin, but this thread's proving okay. It's quite nice to use. Oops, there's a piece over there. Oh, that's the other piece I was stitching with. That's not even the same thread. Okay, so we have some little, I think I marked mine the other way on the design that I traced, but I'll just do them looking at the design. Put another little one up there. Better check that I'm staying on camera. I'll just give it a tap so it focuses hopefully. Again, I might do my little more sort of slightly gappy stitches just to keep it sketchy. Oops, just unthreaded my needle, but that's okay. Nice thing about using a chenille needle, nice big eye. And it's good as well because it reduces wear and tear on your thread because it's creating a nice hole for the thread to pass through. But this linen is so, yeah, it's so thin and well used that it's actually a bit of a dream to stitch. Like you're not getting any of that sort of tearing sound or anything. It feels like butter to stitch through. Always helps having newish needles as well. These ones I got out. I think I got most of the chenille ones out recently when we started the stitch along. Which is what they say when you start a new project. But given I'm always starting new projects, I couldn't get new needles out all the time. But I figured this was one that would benefit from it. Up here, and I'll just do these little filling in sketches. So let me know in the comments if you're doing a little sort of memorial piece for pets or animals that you have loved. Or are you using the design in a different way? Or have you picked out a different design that you want to do for this week? As I say, I've got so many designs out of this resource that I want to do. And the fact is I haven't even mined the other resources on that site yet. So who knows? They could be new stitch-alongs for the new year. I've got another idea for the new year as well. But got to work through logistics for that. There's no shortage of ideas. Every day I'm just like, why is there not enough time to stitch and do all the things that are in my head? I definitely wouldn't be one of those people that would get bored in retirement. I'll be one of those people saying, I don't know how I ever had time to work. That's my stomach making and digestion noises. Had just leftover lovely sort of chili and garlic fried rice, just made with rice, cooked with some oil, and had some leftover homemade hamburgers and a beautiful rocket pear and parmesan salad with it. It was very tasty. Now I'm just thinking I probably need to jump over and do those little bits over there. I should have done them when I was around there. So I'm just going to pass my thread so that it's not too messy. So I'm just passing it sort of under some existing stitches to get it round to where it's needed. need to travel back the way I came then, and we can then start over. So again, even some of the longer stitches in the design, I'm just breaking them into sort of portions, so I do get that more sketchy look. How many times can I say sketchy in a video? Many, it seems. Then I'll come along. Actually, I should do the foot while I'm around here, shouldn't I? I do feel like the diagram did, or not the diagram, the picture made the feet look a little bit too big, but hopefully if I do them more in this sort of outlining style. I resisted to say the S word there. Outline I'll use instead. Hopefully they'll look less heavy and big. They do say dogs grow into their paws, don't they? Quite strange these days, isn't it, when you're looking at like images, even just things that pop up on Facebook, and now with lots of people using artificial intelligence to create images and things, you just can't believe, like you just can't take at face value what you see. I saw an image this morning. I just immediately knew it wasn't right because I've seen baby cows and they don't have all their fur and they're not all fluffy. And there was a picture of video of supposedly one of those Highland cows, all fluffy, but tiny enough that it could fit in someone's hand. And yeah, that's just not how it would be if it was a baby of that size. One, then just not even born that size to begin with. It would be super premature and it wouldn't be all fluffy and fully developed otherwise. But yeah, it's bizarre that now we kind of have to doubt everything. But that's why I think I just love even more these sorts of handicrafts, because they are real. I mean, I'm sure in the future you'll be able to create, or probably now you could create a video of someone stitching or manifested to look like they're stitching an embroidery. But this is a real person. No artificial intelligence involved in this. Sometimes you might even say there's no intelligence involved in Christine's videos. No, lots of thought goes in. Lots of creative imagining. I'm going for time 23 minutes. Okay, so we might finish this thread off. I was hoping I might be able to get all the way around, but no. But I suppose I could go for another. Maybe I'll let myself go a tiny bit longer. Don't think the cat has as many stitches in it, maybe. Oops, I've got some red thread that I've caught there. It's not my finger bleeding. No. I put those little claws on. Travis does so much walking with us that we never have a problem with, we only periodically have to have his dew claws trimmed, but otherwise his other paws tend to be pretty good. Don't know if I'll have to do his little tongue in pink, maybe. And maybe his eye in black, I think. And maybe with a tiny bit of white just to give that little sort of reflectiveness to it. So I was really inspired when I was watching the lovely Kate from Kate in the Nest. She had a beautiful doily that she had purchased secondhand with a cat and a chair that she's putting in her mum's Betty quilt that she's making. And so when I was thinking about designs for this week, I thought, oh yeah, I can make my own cat or stitch my own cat and dogs or dog. But then remember multiple dogs. And then I was also watching, oh goodness, the name's gone out of Railway Cottage, who does the slow stitch quilts, and she was making a beautiful dog brooch. So yeah, it seemed fitting, cats and dogs for the week. So I'd better probably stop, I reckon, about, although it would be nice to finish this bit of thread, wouldn't it? Let's see how fast we can go. I'll be able to edit out a few of those threading of needles bits and pieces. Maybe I'll edit out some of my waffle at the start, just get more stitching time. Oops, caught that. For a moment I thought I'd stitched my doily. I did that once when I was doing my stitching of the writing. Here, even though they are longer little markings, I'm still going to do them as little sketchy markings, I think. Okay, we probably should move on to the cat now, so I might actually just park this thread over. Just take it over to here, bring it up through the fabric and take it back down through the fabric and just leave it over here while we're stitching the other side. So that is the beautiful dog so far. So yeah, I think that's going to work. I think I like it the way I've done it. But I can always come back and fill in the stitches. You can't take that, well, you can always take stitches out, but it's harder to do that. Easier to come back and add stitches if I decide that's what it needs. Just giving it a tighten up, so that will keep over there. I might even just put a little quilt clip on that and just hold that edge out of the way, like that. And then where was my beautiful thread? There we go. Do I need to... So yeah, it does seem to have a bit of, I think it's got variegation of colour in it. We start with the eyes. I'm just having a look at how the eyes have been done. There's actually that's slightly thicker. So I'll just put a smaller stitch in there because where I've drawn the lines on the piece, it's not exactly how the eyes look in the actual design. I'll pop over here, just do put some whiskers in. Or they're the little eye whiskery things, quite long eye whiskers. See, I think that should come over to about there. Just looking at the design as well as stitching. Okay, and there's a little. So that's the face. Then sort of comes down like this. Oops. I'll just move you over a tiny bit this way. Because I'm on the face, it's a little bit slower than it was on the dog, where we're just putting in hairy bits. You kind of need to get the face looking right, don't you? And this bit doesn't actually go up in an indent like I had it. It just comes around in a single. Depends what time of day it is when I'm tracing on the window. I don't have a light box, so I just use a glass window. And there's some tiny little spots here. I'll just do some tiny little stitches. Hopefully they will be not so small that they go through the fabric. That one almost, I think that one did go through the fabric, so I'll just try again. Just put one more little dotty in, and then we'll put in some of the whiskers. Take that over into here. And we've got the sort of little fluffy bits on the neck, so these will hopefully be quick like they were on the dog. A little one in there. Just angle this one a bit more down here. So again, this is just where I'm adjusting as I stitch, just kind of looking at the picture at the same time, looking at my stitches, and that's where you can kind of space things depending what thickness of thread you're using. For example, I think I need a little stitch in here as well. It's a nice fat cat, isn't this one? It's not a skinny cat. And the dog looks like a healthy sized dog too. So it's funny, I seem to have drawn some extra little markings up here, but I quite like them, so I'm going to do them even though they're not in the design. Now for around the outside, I think I will go and just have, not continuous line. I think I actually like that. Just keeps it a bit less heavy, feels. It's a bit lighter. Again, if I change my mind when I remove the sort of the ink or the friction marker markings, I can always go and fill it in or whip it or whatever. Yeah, I think I'm happy to be using this nice fine thread for the catch. As I mentioned in my other videos, we had grey and mixed coloured cats. Cindy was all grey as far as I remember. And Winky was kind of, grey and a little bit of brown, a little bit of black. I think we got Winky just from the RSPCA. They're sort of lost dogs, lost dogs and lost cats. All handed in cats and dogs. But growing up, we always had a menagerie of animals. Let me see if I can kind of reel off some of the different animals we had at different times. Always had dogs. We had the cats until we lost Winky, and that broke our hearts and didn't have cats after that. But Dad had a cockatoo called Lockie, who used to terrify us as kids because in the summer we'd have bare feet in the kitchen, and Dad would let Lockie out of his cage like on a Friday night, and Lockie would run around and try and grab our toes with his beak. But Dad was devoted to Lockie the cockatoo. He used to play him bush music, Australian bush music that Dad used to listen to, and there were some particular songs that Lockie the cockatoo loved, and he would do this amazing dancing to the bush music songs. I think there was one called Whip Jamboree or something that Lockie particularly loved. But then sadly, Dad used to let Lockie out of the cage, and he'd sit in the mulberry tree while Dad kind of did things around the yard. But one day the wild cockatoos came and landed in the big pine tree at the back of where Mum and Dad's house is. There's a beautiful big park and a massive pine tree, and they landed in there, and Lockie flew up and joined them and then flew off with them when they departed and didn't return. And so we'd often find Dad, if the cockatoos had returned on another day to the pine tree, he would be looking up wistfully and wondering if Lockie was going to come back to him. But Lockie never did, but he would always still wistfully look at the cockatoo. So we hope that Lockie went on to have a good life with the wild cockatoo squad. And then there was another funny time where our next door neighbour, who was a teacher, said, "Oh, we've had a rabbit at the school. It's a male rabbit, and we're finished with it at the school. We had it as a pet. Would you like to have it?" And so Mum and Dad thought, "Oh yeah, maybe the kids would like a rabbit." Anyway, not long after we got it, it started pulling its fur out with its teeth and sort of leaving it around its little hutch. We also noticed it was a particularly big, fat rabbit, even though we were kind of just feeding it normal amounts of rabbit food. And then it was coming up to Easter, and it was Easter morning that we went out, and the male rabbit had an entire, I think it was like 8 or 10 baby rabbits. So it most definitely wasn't a male rabbit, and it was a pregnant female rabbit when it came to us, because we didn't have any other rabbits. So we ended up with a whole lot of beautiful rabbits. I think we ended up keeping 3 of them, and then friends adopted out the other ones. I'm actually just picturing a picture of, yeah, 3 very fluffy white rabbits sitting sort of, yeah, straight on looking into a camera and all sort of very, very fluffy and puffed up. But when they're the baby rabbits, they're just sort of pink and squirmy. So that was the rabbit story. Then we had wild guinea pigs from my uncle's farm, the same uncle where we would pick blackberries and play in the river. And they were huge. They had obviously at some point been a domesticated pet. I don't think they were ones that Tim had himself, unless it was something that he'd got for his daughter and then they'd gone wild and bred, but they were gigantic guinea pigs. So I think my brother's was Saddleback, and what was mine called? Bullseye, I think, because he had a sort of a black marking around his eye. So we had those. Mum always had her chooks, which I've talked about in previous videos when I've been stitching my sort of chook-inspired stitchery for my vintage heirloom quilt. So yeah, always chooks, always the girls for the longest time, and neighbours would come and get fresh eggs from us. We always had beautiful fresh eggs, and nothing like homegrown eggs where they got fed very well, just like Travis, all the fresh vegetables and fruits and plenty of shell grit to keep their eggs strong. And brother had Mexican walking fish, or axolotl, so that was quite an exotic pet. Had hermit crabs. We had Tambo the turtle that we found as a little injured tiny turtle in the Tambo River when we were travelling back from Mallacoota one time. So we got a gigantic sort of tyre outer and made him a little area that he could live in and play in, and we got him I think we built a little pond for him as well. And we had various sort of fish and fish tanks at different times. We had, are they Mexican lovebirds? I think they were my granny's originally, but then we came to have them. We had various canaries and budgerigars. And even with our dogs, we would end up adopting other people's dogs. So in this piece, Max was a dog that lived around the corner with a journalist. And Max he was a Kelpie, and he would jump the fence to come and join our family when we took our dogs for a walk each afternoon into the park. So he would jump the fence, come for the walk, and then he'd go back over the fence. And his owner knew he was doing that. But I think he worked quite long hours being a journalist. Anyway, the owner came to get a job overseas, a posting overseas, I guess. And so when he got that, he came and asked us if we would like to adopt Max, which we very happily did. So yeah, growing up, we usually at least had 2 dogs. And so also Fergus, who is honoured in this piece, he was another dog that we adopted. It was a lady that Dad had met who was coming to the park, or the daughter was... the lady was coming to the park. Her daughter had cancer. The lady was quite old herself. And so, yeah, Dad would help out with walking Fergus for her. And also and then once the daughter had passed away, Dad would also, do things to help out the old lady too, shopping and things like that. And so when she passed, Fergus came to live with Mum and Dad. So some of our pets have found us as well. I still like to think that Travis found us as well through guide dogs. How am I going for time? Just get a few more stitches done with this piece of thread, then we'll rethread and we'll see how far we can get through till another 8 or so minutes, I think. Don't need to leave too much time at the end to come back for show and tell. Should really finish that end off, but I'll just get these little stitches done. Not even sure if these stitches are in the design, not quite like that, but that's okay. Again, I think they've even drawn the cat's paws a bit too big, but that's all right. Okay, I really better tie this thread off before I ran out of space. Other pets we had. What else did we have? I'm sure there are many others. Oh, when I was a very young, there's pictures of it. I don't entirely remember it, but when I was very young, we had a baby goat, a kid from my uncle's farm that I think needed to be hand reared because its mother wasn't rearing it. And so there's pictures of me taking this kid goat for a walk and brushing this kid goat's hair and all sorts of things. In suburbia, in like a normal neighbourhood, a kid goat and a kid walking it. So I don't know what the neighbours must have thought. So what's that show? It's quite an old, very old show. I never saw it like when it was originally on TV. I think I only ever saw replays of it. The Good Life, where they kind of start living a very self-sufficient lifestyle in the English suburbs. And their posh neighbours aren't quite sure what to make of it. 3 stitches shown on the design there, so I'll just do those. Better come over and do those ones while I'm here, otherwise I'll have to kind of backtrack. And in fact, I've got to come down and do that other one on the tail. So I think I might work my way down the tail actually and just put a few more in that aren't even in the design. Again, I think it just helps to delineate it. Oops. And then I can pop up to where the foot is, I think. So there is method in my madness. So other funny animals that we had. Oh, we had various, lizards and things. Never had snakes. Not a fan of snakes. Never had rats, but yeah, I had rabbits and guinea pigs. Dogs, cats, goat, chooks, various birds. I think that's about it. Never had a pony in the suburbs. Although my brother now has many horses. They've become a very horsey family since they got their property in Western Australia down near Margaret River. As I'm filming this, actually, it's my brother's birthday today. A bit of thread. Don't know where that red thread is coming from. Or maybe it's from when I was doing the heart. Maybe no, I don't think so, because it's actually very thin compared to that. Oh, I did have some scraps out on my desk today, actually, because I was playing with another idea that I had. Just not enough time to do it all. I thought I'd better do this first. And then we're also getting another Roxy prompt this week, so we'll have that by the time we're watching this video together. And I know many of you do the Roxy projects, and this is actually going to be going on my Roxy treasure hunt piece, which is when I started my family heirloom quilt. Again, just taking poetic license with how I do some of these stitches. Oops, almost stabbed myself. Again, this is a nice quick stitch when it's just the little fur detailing. Don't have to be too precise. But it definitely helps for me having an underlying drawing, even if I don't always follow the exact bits. It gives me a sense of where to be putting the stitches, whereas if I was just trying to do this all from scratch, I think I'd find it a bit too much. And I just love that we've got this free resource, because sometimes I've bought printed like designs on fabric to stitch, but how lovely is it to have something that someone drew in the 1800s and to be stitching it today? I'm still just really touched by that idea. Don't know if we ever get to see what's going on in Earth below us when we're no longer walking the Earth, but if we do, how amazing for them to be seeing us stitching their designs. Get the paw done, and then I will pop off camera to finish the two animal pieces, and then I can come back for the show and tell. Again, I don't think I need to be super precise here. Just want to get a probably the little details like the paw where you do need to kind of follow the design a little bit more and do some smaller stitches. Okay, I'll just get this done. Want to get the paw finished with you. Always one more thing. It's like kids and bedtime. Just one more book. Just one more stitch. And yeah, this cat is not going to take much longer. So this project will be pretty close in terms of just the sketching of the animals. I reckon it'll be about an hour and a half piece of stitching. But I will stick to my word and I'll finish that off there. But yeah, I think that's coming together well. So I'm back with my finished piece here. I am super thrilled with how the cat and the dog turned out. And I finished stitching it last night while I was having a lovely video chat with the lovely Christy, who is another slow stitch YouTuber. And we were both in our craft rooms chatting, showing our craft rooms to each other and just stitching away. And it was delightful. And an hour and 45 minutes flew by like that. So I've added a sweet little charm to the piece, which was sent to me from the lovely Robin. She also sent me this beautiful panel with a black Labrador on it, which I'm going to be including in my slow stitch heirloom quilt. And as you can see, I've done a lot of detailed thread painting into the face of the Labrador. I'll be cropping it down in the piece, probably having it in a sort of a circle design, who knows, maybe even in a heart design as well. So Travis will have pride of prominence. And Robin also sent me this little piece as well, which will probably go in also. But I just love this heart charm. I'll bring you down a little bit to show you the piece in more detail, first of all, to show you the charm. So yeah, it's got a little heart symbol on it, and on the other side it says, "You make it beat faster, you make my heart beat faster." And so I just think that's a lovely thing. And also heart and heart health has been a big focus in our family over the last year, so it's got sort of double significance there. Now I'll just bring you back up a little bit and you can have a look at how the cat ended up. So for the legs I sort of did a more continuous stitch, but for the cat I mostly stuck with the sort of, the little patchy stitches, and likewise for the dog, all just little sort of furry fluffy stitches, which I think has worked out really well. I'm glad I didn't do a continuous line. I like the effect of that, but I so much look forward to just seeing what everyone ends up doing. So that is the piece, and I hope you enjoyed the chat. If you've been in the live chat with us, you can also join in the chat afterwards by just posting comments and things. You can post in the Facebook group. And again, thank you so much for joining in this, either in spirit or in stitch. Oh, and I put the little tiny tongue on the dog as well. That was just in regular pinky reddy colour sewing thread, but I love the variation in colour across the dog also. Anyway, I will let you go. Have a wonderful week ahead, and I will chat to you soon.